Folks, this is Steve Sanson and Jim Jonas for another episode of Veterans in Politics. We did invite Jim Marchant to come on the program, and he was coming on the program, and once he announced his candidacy for US Senate, he decided not to come on the program. Now, granted, last time he ran for office was the Secretary of State. He didn't come on the program for that. And we all know that he never won Secretary of State. And he went up against Richard Scotti, which I thought Richard Scotti was a better candidate for Secretary of State. But, you know, the blinded Republicans out there didn't see that. And they put him in office. They put him in the general election. And he lost. So before that, he ran for US Congress and ran against Sam Peters. And we all thought that Sam Peters was a better candidate for Congress, you know, veteran, and knows the issues, and which is my district, CD4. And the blinded Republican Party, again, put Jim Marchant in the general election, and again, he lost. And before that, he lost his assembly seat. So, I don't know about you, but in the private sector, you know, if you can't make it from the cashier, you're not going to be head cashier manager. And if you can't make it as the head cashier manager, you're not going to be department manager. And if you can't make it as the department manager, you're not going to be store manager. And if you can't make it as the store manager, you sure as hell not going to be district manager. So in politics, people are just stupid. I mean, if this guy, Jim Marchant, couldn't maintain his assembly seat, okay? Couldn't get the nod for congressional office, couldn't get the nod for Secretary of State. All you stupid Republicans now are going to rally around this guy for United States Senate. That is absolutely asinine and pathetic. Now, I remember Jim Marchant when he first ran for office. Nobody rallied around him then. Now he has a track record of losing. Why are we rallying around him now, Republicans? Are you that desperate because of a name? Jim Marchant? Who the hell is this guy? 66-year-old male, Caucasian, in the Republican Party that can't win a seat to save his life. Unless, like we had Jesse Haw on, Jim, the Clark County chairman, and we mentioned the establishment party, unless this is the big scope of things. So the establishment party runs candidates. They know that probably win the primary, but have no chance in hell winning a general election. Jim, how do you feel about that?
Well, I guess the way, and I'll start a conversation that you and I have had for a while, but I'm willing to put it on air. Because there's lots of times, and I agree with you on this to some point, we're like, hey, Jim, how come you don't go to CCRP meetings? Or how come you're not going to state central committee meetings? And how many times have I told you? I'm done with the circus. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not, I'm a registered Republican, and I'm not changing my registration. Okay, I'm just going to make that very
clear. Because it's stupid people.
Yeah, I will not change my registration. But I'm like, and it's because, no offense, and I appreciate very much when you and I went to Winnemucca, we went up there, and I hadn't been to a state central committee meeting literally since 2008. And I show up in 2022. Same people were there. And I'm like, And the same people are saying the same thing over and over and over again. So yada, yada, yada. So my whole thing is like, let's try to switch it up a little bit and see if somebody else can actually win other than somebody that's willing to cut a check to the party behind the scenes.
Well, that's what's going on. Folks, look at all these elections that are out there, especially in these judicial races. Look at her Supreme Court. Her Supreme Court used to be all men. Every last one of them. There are 5 women, 2 men on that Supreme Court. Give it another election cycle, those 2 men are going to be gone. Okay, especially when they retire. This is a Me Too movement out there, folks. If you have not recognized that, you're just too caught up in your own bullshit. Okay? Now, I've been doing politics in this town since 1998. Okay? I've been veterans in politics since 2004. Okay? I think I know what I'm talking about, just maybe a little bit. A man in this day and age, 9 out of 10 is not going to beat a woman, especially a woman that's already holding office. You want to take out Jacky Rosen Republicans? You're going to put a 66-year-old white Caucasian male to take her out? It ain't going to happen, okay? It's not going to happen. You need a woman to take out a woman. You don't put a man to take out a woman in politics in this town. It's not going to happen. I don't know what you guys are thinking, unless, again, the strategy is to lose. The strategy is to have this perennial candidate, okay, win the primary, but when it comes time for the general election, loses to the incumbent, Democrat Jacky Rosen. And that's what's going to happen. And if anybody wants to take my bet, anybody, Republicans out there, we'll put this in writing, okay? I bet each Republican, because I don't know how many is going to take the bet, I bet each Republican $100 each Republican, if Jim Marchant wins the primary, okay, if he will not win the general election. $100. Who wants to take me out? Who wants to take that bet? Okay? I'll do that bet right now. Let's talk about Jim Marchant.
Okay. Can I add something about Jim Marchant real quick?
Sure.
Because I wanted to get to that too. Here's the other thing that I find interesting, Steve, and the height of hypocrisy. So Jim Marchant, according to his website, I'm reading this verbatim, like these are his words or somebody wrote them down for him, has been a leader and innovator in the computer software, internet, and telecommunication industries beginning in 1984. He has founded and served as CEO and president of numerous technological companies. But when he was running for Secretary of State, he said, you can't trust technology or computer systems. We have to go to a hand recount. That's the only way this is going to work. And I'm like, well, so I brought this up to a couple people, and they're like, well, because as the CEO of that industry, he understands they're unreliable. I'm like, okay, that's fair. But then I was like, well, does that have anything to do with when he was the CEO of Maxis in Orange County, California, and that company got sued for $750 million? And again, I'm not attacking Jim Marchant on this one. I mean, companies get sued. That's what happens. But I just don't understand how somebody is pushing for these hand recounts, but at the same time is saying, well, we just need better technology. So I'm confused.
Well, it sounds very hypocritical, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I'm specifically being confusing because I want other people to be as confused as I am, because I don't like when people talk out of both sides of their mouth.
Right. We have information that Jim Marchant has a relationship with the Proud Boys, and you all know what they are, or some of them, maybe not all. Marchant is going to get hit with the Democrats for being a election denier, although I don't remember him bring it up this last few interviews he had. But he's been an election denier, and you're not going to win a general election being a strong election denier. You know, if Marchant was here, I would have asked him, what does he believe the qualities of a United States senator should be? What is he going to do? What is he going to do this time for not losing a general election? You know, he started to remind me of, what's that guy's name? Danny Tarkanian. There we go. Jim, you need to go to a town that you be able to win. Danny did it. He went up to the rurals and he went into a town that had what? I don't know, 400 people?
Yeah.
And he won county commissioner. Maybe that's what you need to do. Your consultants feel you should run for another feather. Jim, tell me some more.
All right, so I know I brought up the computer software stuff, and Steve already kind of touched on the election denier stuff. And I just want to add a little bit more to that. Okay, look, here's from a legal standpoint. Okay, I'm not a lawyer, but this is my belief. So when Jim Marchant was running for Secretary of State, he said that he would not have certified the election results in the state of Nevada because, and specifically he said, because they were for now President Biden and not for former President Trump. And I'm like, well, we're a land of laws. And I'll be perfectly honest with you. If I see somebody burning an American flag, I literally want to punch them in the face, but I'm not going to call the cops because the Supreme Court already said it's legal to do so. So if you're running for Secretary of State and you basically openly admit, like, if the person that's elected isn't the person you want to win, then I'm not going to certify the votes. So he's already admitted his bias right there. So if you don't like what Jim Marchant likes, that means he's just not going to do it. And if you're running for Senate or you're elected to a constitutional seat at all, you still have to follow the law. Whether you like the law or not, you follow the law. We are a land of laws. So Jim Marchant, in my opinion, is someone who denies the law. And you can't have somebody like that holding the constitutional office. It's just like, Steve, you and I have had how many people on this show?
Thousands.
All these years, specifically referring to family court, going like, okay, they violated your First Amendment right, your Second Amendment right, your Third Amendment. And we just go down the line. And now you got a guy that's going to run for United States Senate. And he basically just said, hey, if he doesn't like the law, I'm not following it.
Well, speaking of law, because he was a lawmaker when he was a legislator back in the day, I like to know what bills he sponsored, you know. And what bills that I know he sponsored was a bill to tax women feminine products. Tax women feminine products. That's a good bill to sponsor. And these women, Republican women out there, some of them are going for this guy. I just don't understand what anybody sees in Jim Marchant. Could anybody tell me what did Jim Marchant do for the state of Nevada? I mean, how long has he lived here? You know, does anybody even ask that question? Did he ever got sued by anybody? Which we know he has. It's just amazing to me that Republicans will just come out and just rally around somebody that's a fucking loser.
Well, I can answer that question for you real quick, Steve. Because the reason why he said he had to postpone his interview, and I'm assuming after this conversation you and I are having on live air, he's not going to come on the show, even though I think he should. So that way he can respond to, I'm sure he's going to call them accusations. But, he's got a couple fundraisers set up by Dick Morris. I don't know how many of you know who Dick Morris is. I actually have never met him personally. Now, I own 6 of his books, and I know he's been involved in politics for a long time, and he's given advice to a lot of candidates. He's given advice to Bill Clinton when he helped Bill Clinton get elected governor of Arkansas, and then helped Bill Clinton get reelected as governor of Arkansas after he lost his election bid. And then he's worked for Trent, Lott. I mean, this guy has done a lot. So ultimately, it seems like Jim Marchant has the inside track on some high-end Republican donors. We'll see how that works out for him, because that's why I think that the Republican Party here locally is getting behind him, because he can bring in a lot of money. Well, that's fine. But at the end of the day, we need Republicans to get elected. And it's really too bad that it's all about money and not winning elections anymore. Because it can go hand in hand. And that's why, in my opinion, the Democrat Party is literally kicking the shit out of the Republican Party, because the Democrat Party is actually more focused on winning elections than the Republican Party. The Republican Party has become all about money and don't care about winning elections anymore. And that's sad, because when you have true Republican candidates elected to office, this state, this country is a better place to live. Republicans, grow up. Stop chasing the damn money. Get out of the damn cocktail party rooms and start winning elections again. Steve, sorry.
No, that's fine.
I had to get that off my chest.
I mean, even Marchant's business, he's lawsuits after lawsuits after lawsuits. Yeah. His elections, he loses. And for the life of me, Republicans, get your head out your ass, man. Find a female candidate and go behind that female candidate from the very beginning and support that female candidate, and you'll take the general election. I mean, what do I know, right? So you're going to go and you're going to pick this guy, and times have changed, people. If you have not realized that, there is so much that has changed. And stop living in yesterday. Start living for today. Because I am telling you, as I sit here, no male 66-year-old Republican is going to win this U.S. Senate seat against Jacky Rosen. Unless that's exactly what you want. You want Jacky Rosen to continue for another 6 years. If that's what you want, Jim Marchant's your guy. because he's not going to win the primary. Might not. He's definitely not going to win the general election. Not going to win the general election. Look at you guys. You guys had Adam Laxaul, okay? Now, granted, Adam did win the AG's office. He did lose the governor's office. He did lose the U.S. Senate office to Cortez Masto. And you might say, well, he lost by 8,000 votes. That's true. But you know what? If that was a female, probably would have taken out Cortez Masto. But you guys just don't understand that. I don't know what is it that you guys cannot strategically plan this. Democrats have no problems with it. They strategically plan. You don't hear too much about infighting or nothing like that. You know, they go and they win their primary, or they don't put up 400 people in the primary so they could all beat each other up. And you got a lot of perennial candidates out there, like Eddie Hamilton. I love the guy, but he ain't gonna win. So the only reason Eddie's in this race is to have a platform to be able to talk, to be able to vent. He knows he's not gonna win. You know he's not gonna win, but he's in the race anyway. And all he's doing is taking votes away from reliable candidates that actually can possibly win. That's all it is. But nobody talks to Eddie and say, Eddie, you probably want to come out of this race, man. You're not going to win. I mean, Eddie just ran for what? City Council
Ward 1 Henderson.
Of Henderson, and now he's running for U.S. Senate. How many times did Eddie ran for U.S. Senate?
I've lost count. I love Eddie Hamilton, too. I agree with everything Steve said, though.
Eddie must have ran at least 20 times between county chairs, executive boards in the Republican Party, municipal races, county races. I mean, Eddie Hamilton must have ran for everything. I think Eddie Hamilton thinks he's Abraham Lincoln.
He surpassed Abraham Lincoln.
But look here, folks. This is not Abraham Lincoln era. There's no horse and buggy outside my door, okay? Pretty soon we're going to have flying cars, okay? We got cars that are driving by themselves now. This is not that era. Yeah, I don't know how to get to you Republicans, man, because you need a woman, a female, not a transvestite, not a guy pretending to be a woman, but an actual female, okay, biological female to win this thing in the general election. If you don't have a biological female Republicans out of the primary into the general election, Jacky Rosen is going to walk away with this thing. Just like Cortez Masto walked away with it. I don't know how much I could say about that. But party bosses out there, what is going on? You know, I haven't seen it, but the more and more the way you guys are doing things, the more and more I think that you guys are getting paid under the table for some reason, because there is no way you could be that dunce. The guy lost assembly. He couldn't even retain his assembly seat. He lost Secretary of State. He lost US Congress. And now we want to promote him to US Senate. That is the most stupid, ridiculous thing I have ever heard of. And I've been preaching about a female running for this US Senate seat for a very long time. I mean, you got one right here, Stephanie Phillips. I mean, she's the full package, man. There's nothing on her. There's no losing races. There's no business deals that got screwed up. There's no lawsuits. And you guys would rather walk away from somebody like this, who's been at all the Republican functions across the state. Walk away from somebody like this to a 3-time loser, male. I don't know what to say. I maybe I said enough. Jim?
Well, glad you brought Stephanie Phillips up. Because one of the things that I've been hearing back and forth, not regarding Stephanie Phillips, which, by the way, I completely endorse personally. So I'm just going to come flat out and say it. I'm not speaking on behalf of veterans of politics, international, obviously, but personally I do. Is that this whole, and Steve, exactly what you said is right. This whole gender thing is getting just so crazy now. And it's like really frustrating me. And Stephanie correct me because I was like, what do you mean? Well, of course, everybody's going to support you because you're a woman, because now we become an anti-male society because of the Me Too movement and other things. She goes, no, actually, it's actually the opposite. And she said, because I am a straight woman, and because of my hardcore Christian religious beliefs, there's a lot of people that are against me because I am a straight heterosexual female. And I thought that was interesting. It was an interesting conversation. She's going to kill me for saying that live. But anyway, go ahead, Steve.
Well, people, do your homework on Jim Marchant. And we have done a criminal background on him, and I'm waiting for more information to show up before I go ahead and say what I have. But there's some stuff out there. You probably want to take a really good look at it and take a look at his business deals and his lawsuits. Take a look at all that. And how long has he really been in the state of Nevada? Does he have a business here? I don't think he does. Does he have children here in school? I don't think he does. Take a look at this guy. Is he a real Nevadan? Is he a real, true Republican, conservative Nevadan that you guys want to be proud of, that you guys want to rally around? This guy has lost 3 races, okay? And he's about ready to lose a number 4. So pay attention to what we're saying, because I know a lot of Republicans out there are thinking this, but they don't want to upset the apple cart. They don't want to come out and say it because they don't want to look like the bad guy. I'm saying it for you. Jim Marchant needs to get out of this race. He's not going to win the general election. And if you guys push, go behind, rally behind this woman behind me, she'll make you proud. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Jim?
I don't have anything more I really want to add, other than I do want to say one of the reasons why Steve and I decided, after Jim decided to postpone the interview, we just decided to go ahead and do it. And it's because, as random as some of the stuff I'm saying may sound, these are conversations that happen around the kitchen table, that people say around the water cooler at work. These are real conversations people have. Not everything has to be this pre-written political speech. Jim Marchant is actually very good at that, by the way. I think he's very well spoken, very articulate man. But people don't care about that anymore. They care about, what are you going to do for me? If you can't have that type of conversation with somebody, you're just not going to get elected today. And to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not the most articulate person, but anybody who's ever met me one-on-one knows that, I really study all this stuff. And at the end of the day, I found out being articulate and bright is cool on air. But if you actually care about things and do your research, which you should, these are conversations that people are going to have. I don't care how eloquent Jim Marchant is. He's very well dressed, very well appropriate anytime I've ever seen him. But people are, in my opinion anyway, people are getting tired of old white people telling them what to do. It just doesn't work anymore. So grow up. I don't care how much money Jim Marchant can bring in to the CCRP or the state Republican Party. I don't care. What I care about is getting Republicans elected that are actually going to reverse the course that's going on in this country. We got 10-year-old, 11-year-old boys and girls being told, oh, well, you don't feel like doing this? Well, fine, get a sex. I mean, some of this craziness that's going on, we got to get back to being normal. And that's what we need to stop worrying about money. Anyway, I could go on all night, Steve.
You know, I think loyalty, there's no price on loyalty, okay? And I don't know why you guys want this Marchant rally around him for. Look at Adam Laxaul, okay? In this last election, former President Trump endorsed Adam Laxaul. And how does Adam repay Trump? By endorsing his opponent, DeSantis, right? There's nothing wrong with that presidential candidate. In fact, I think he's a great scholar. I read up about him. He's a veteran. He served in the war against terror. I'm not saying anything wrong about DeSantis. What I'm saying is Adam Laxaul's behavior. You guys rallied around this Judas, okay? Trump endorsed this Judas, okay? He came out of the primary election, okay, over Sam Brown, okay? And what does he do? Endorse Trump's opponent. There is loyalty right there. Some of you Republicans out there don't even know what the word loyalty means. Loyalty means it's like an unconditional love, okay? You're backing somebody because you believe in them, because they're good for this country, because they're good for the state, because they're good for this community, because they're gonna preserve your values, okay? And then you got other candidates out there that is only in this thing for themselves. They're opportunists. You could always tell an opportunist. An opportunist will go from one race to the next race, to the next race, to the next race. Look here. I ran 5 times. And the reason why I ran is because I believed in what I was doing. When I ran for city council, that was to get focus group, not to build high-risers over in Kyle Canyon. When I ran for Clark County Public Administrator, that was to educate the public on living wills and trusts to get rid of the public administrator's office. And I made that perfectly known. That's what I wanted to do. And I ran for that office twice. When I ran for assembly, that was because I was asked to run the first time. That was to take Paul Anderson and make him busy. And we all know what happened to Paul Anderson, good Mormon guy, ran away with his secretary and left his wife and kids, okay? There you go, Republicans, always choosing the wrong guy. And then I ran for assembly again. That's because the seat was vacated. And I had good laws that I wanted to put into effect concerning veterans and the community at large. That's why I ran, to change what's going on, to make it better than how I found it, okay? But then you got some people out there that's just thinking about them damn selves. Jim Marchant's one of those folks. What has Jim Marchant done for you? What has he done for you when he ran for assembly? What has he done for you when he was an assemblyman? What bills did he pass? What bills did he sponsor? Okay? When he ran for Congress to take out Sam Peters, what has he done for you? When he ran for Secretary of State and took out my buddy, Richard Scotty, what has he done for you? You got to ask yourself these questions. What has he done for this state, the state of Nevada? What has he done? And if you get no on all those answers, why the hell are you rallying around this guy for? Who is he paying off? Who is he greasing? You got to ask yourself these questions. And I know some of you Republicans out there, like, you probably want to just make sure that this interview don't go on any channels. That's because you're guilty of what we're saying. If you're not guilty of what we're saying, let it go. Share this. Send it all over the valley. Send it all over the state. We need not a loser. We need not somebody that has multiple lawsuits, not somebody that has failing business. We need a true leader. We need somebody that don't have a track record of losing. We need somebody that has a clean slate. And this individual behind me, now, before I talk more about this individual behind me, pre-primaries, you guys, all these years I've been running on veterans and politics, you guys have never seen me come up and support anybody pre-primary. There's a reason why. Because I believe in this candidate behind me. I believe that this candidate could be a United States president one day. And the only way that's going to happen if you guys push her out of the primary into the general election. If you put Marchant there, shake hands with Jacky Rosen, because you're going to get her for another 6 more years. And guess what? She's going to be more powerful in 6 years than she is today because you allow her to be there. Put Marchant in office, you're saying yes, yes, yes to Jacky Rosen come November of 2024. You want to stop Marchant? Say no to him in the primary come June. This is Steve Sampson, Jim Jonas with Veterans in Politics. We're not here because we're bored. We're here because we care. We care about this community. We care about this state. We care about this country. There's nobody greasing our palms. We're not getting any money to do this at all. We just see a great candidate and we see a loser. You decide who you want to put in office. God bless America, and may God bless this great state of Nevada. Thank you very much.